Let's get more reaction now to the Chancellor's Jobs Retention Bonus of £1,000 and the £2 billion job creation scheme for young people. Stuart Lewis is the founder of Restless. That's a jobs and community site for the over 50s. And Ruth Slack has been struggling to get back into the jobs market since the pandemic hit and joins us there from Toddington. Stuart, perhaps I can start with you. That £1,000 for every business that brings back furloughed workers, is that a game changer?
Personally, I don't think so. So I don't think it's going to influence the decision for someone to keep on a member of staff at a higher cost than that £1,000 for an incremental 3 months.
So you would prefer the furlough scheme to continue, would you?
No, I think what we're, as the Chancellor suggested, it's impossible to keep the furlough scheme going indefinitely, and I think it almost masks the real problems in the underlying economy. I think what we've seen with the pandemic is real structural shifts in the labour market. So many of the roles that were had large numbers of people employed in them pre-pandemic. Let's take physical retail as an example. There's going to be a structural drop in demand for those type of roles post-pandemic. So what's needed is a widespread training and engagement program to help reskill people into the careers of the future, whether that's digital skills or whether that's healthcare.
Ruth, you, I think, have a 21-year-old son. This focus on young people is fine, and I'm sure you would welcome that. But what about the rest of us?
Yes, that's right. So I'm 56 and I got laid off in March. So it's, wanting to get back into work so much. And I think we need the help and support. And it's also the fact of digital. In my role, marketing communications, a lot has changed. And but I still want to get back into work and so want to. So I think we do need the support to be helped through that.
Well, what would that require? What do you wish the Chancellor had announced today?
So I think more help for people, more skilling, more support, more learning, more courses for people to get back into work, to upskill us all, really.
Yeah, Stuart, that a lot of people are saying we as a country need to reskill, perhaps change what we're doing and look at careers we haven't thought of before.
Exactly right. I think we were the government's right to clearly needed to do something to target the crisis in the labour market. I think its focus on youth employment is great. We know that they're a disadvantaged group and they're being significantly impacted. I think the glaring omission for us today was around retraining and around support for older workers today. So actually pre-pandemic, we know that the over 50s, they're more likely to be made redundant, they're less likely to receive workplace training, and crucially, they were more likely to be in long-term unemployment of more than 2 years. So we're worried that the policy announced today with the Kickstarters is actually going to distort the labour market. So why would a company take on a 61-year-old in a permanent job when they could take on a free 23-year-old on a 6-month long extended probationary period?
Well, because they've got skills that young people don't have. Isn't that still the case?
It is and it isn't. So to this point around retraining, for us, any labour market intervention has to come with this reskilling and upskilling to prepare people for the careers of the future. So there's also a large swathe of people in our demographic who will be working in manufacturing, who will be working in industries that will not come out of this out of the pandemic in a great position. So actually, how do we skill and retrain specifically at both ends of the age spectrum in the labour market to help prepare people for the careers of the future that will be in demand to rebuild Britain?
Ruth, do you sense that the focus is too much on younger people?
I think obviously it is important because, as you say, I've got a 21-year-old son, so I welcome that for the young people. But I think, our age group have got a lot of experience, as you've said, that can bring to the market. And I see that we should have young people and older people in the workplace together, and we can help each other. So I think that's vitally important, not to lose all the experience that I've gained, for example, in my career. And I want to use it.
The truth is, though, in terms of jobs, this is a buyer's market, isn't it? Those people who are looking for work are having to look very, very hard.
Yes, well, you're absolutely right. I mean, I'm on the laptop every day, searching, and of course it is quite faceless as well. So you're looking through all the different job listings, trying to find a job, in your area or. So it is hard.
Stuart, I saw nodding your head there, and this is a story I'm sure you've heard many times. What advice would you give people of this in this age group as they think, what am I going to do now?
I think the first thing to think about is what transferable skills they have. So we come across a lot of people who tell us that they may not have any skills or they don't know what they can deliver. And actually, perhaps they've been out of work for a few years, perhaps they've been caring for a spouse or an elderly relative. And actually, the level of transferable skills they have as a carer or whatever they may have been doing, there's a huge amount they can bring to the workforce. And it's focusing on what they can do and what they can bring to an employer in order to really give themselves the best chance of it. I think it's also worth pointing out that so many people may not have been in the interview market for many years, and actually it's always worth brushing up on interview techniques, interview skills that are kind of rightfully handed out freely to younger generations. But actually it's much harder to come by that type of advice as an older job seeker and as an older candidate. So just making sure you're up to speed with things like competency-based interviews and modern interview techniques.
Now, Ruth, the hospitality industry has been very badly hit. What did you make of the Chancellor saying that he's going to help us all to go out?
Well, I mean, to go out, that's great, but I mean, obviously the hospitality needs to get back into, and we need to feel safe. That's what I think.
Well, now you've mentioned something very important about feeling safe, because we're not out of this, are we yet?
No, we're not. Definitely not. And I think we all need to keep safe, keep distancing really, and you know, hopefully things will get better. But we have got to be very careful. And of course, I'm thinking about when the winter comes, because that's when they're talking about maybe there'll be a second wave. So we'll have to be careful of all that.
Yes, and Stuart, of course, it's the older there that become more vulnerable because of this virus. And as we're saying, we're not out of the woods of the virus yet.
No, absolutely. I think that there's over 9 million workers aged between 50 and 65. So it's not a small niche, it's a large portion of the workforce. But there's definitely added health concerns for this demographic. And I think we know that this audience faced age discrimination in the recruitment process before. We've seen firsthand actually that coming from a good place, people are worried about the health concerns. Age discrimination is going to be tenfold worse as a result of the pandemic because of the health fears.
Something like stamp duty, again, affecting mostly first-time buyers. Does that strike you as a gimmick, Stuart?
I haven't studied the stamp duty proposals in detail. I think for me, the focus from the government had to be on jobs and the labour market. I think that is with furlough coming to an end, that is the piece we are extremely concerned about. And I think anecdotally around dinner table conversations or socially distant dinner table conversations or telephone conversations, it's all people are talking about is fear for their jobs and this idea of fear for their livelihoods. So I think.
Yeah, sorry, Stuart. And Ruth, finally. At the back of all our minds as we listen to a Chancellor dishing out money is at some point we're going to have to pay for this.
I know, I've thought about that a lot. I mean, definitely. I mean, it's taxes, isn't it? You'd expect them to go up in the coming years because we have got to pay it back. Where's the money going to come from?
Well, Ruth, it's really good to talk to you. I wish you luck with the future. And Stuart Lewis, thank you both very much for joining us this afternoon. Good to talk to you.
Thank you.